south. Two different chapters told miles out. That back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why. Why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why. Why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. That back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why. Why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why. Why you're the way you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Silverline's Wednesday Night WHAM, hosted by Scott Wakefield!
Wow, thank you. That every Wednesday gets better and better every time. You've been practicing. Hello and welcome. It is Wednesday Wham. We are Silverline. This is our Wednesday show, and we are glad you are here. If you had any doubt in your mind about where you should be, cast it aside. You're in the right place. We're going to have fun tonight. We're going to talk about our topic. I think no promises that we'll stay on topic, but we are talking about sci-fi versus fantasy. And yes, we leave our topics broad because we want to talk about if that means which one's better, if we want to talk about the best sci-fi stories, the best fantasy stories, if we want to talk about what is sci-fi and what is fantasy. The door is open, and you are welcome to chime in. We love that. We want your comments. We want your questions, and they don't have to always be about what we're talking about. They can be about comic books, the comic book industry, pop culture, all the geeky, nerdy stuff that you want to talk about. Join in the fun. And as is our custom and our rule, we introduce ourselves. We tell where we're from. We tell what we do and how to follow and support us. And we also plug Silverline because that's who, well, let's see, doesn't cut us the paycheck. We love Silverline. If we want Silverline to grow, and we are an independent comic book creator, and we want to get our stories out there. So, first plug. Our website is SilverlineComics.com. You can find almost all of our titles there. The reason I say almost is because we are always coming out with new stuff, and every other month or so we've got usually 2 titles coming. So almost all of our titles are there for purchase at SilverlineComics.com, and we use a crowdfunding method usually. So far, that's been our method to get our books out there and distributed and funded. And we should be having one of those coming up here sometime soon. I can't give you a firm date on that, but stay tuned. And we are here on Facebook and YouTube and where else?
Twitch.
Yes. Okay, and I've got some more plugging coming for stuff we've got coming up in the future just next week. Right? Or is it just this Saturday? Yeah. So, I'm going to tease that. More to come. But we will start with our introductions, and I'm going to click over here to see. I think I have everybody on the screen. I'm going to go all the way to the right of my screen. I have Mr. Rory Boyle, and he's going to introduce himself. Go for it, Rory.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am Rory Boyle, co-creator of the upcoming Steam Patriots, along with our illustrious host, Mr. Scott Wakefield.
Well done. And you are north of the Arctic Circle. Are you?
I am far, far north.
Panama Canal.
At least.
Where are you?
I am in northern Florida, a little old town called Jacksonville, at least for the next 4 months.
All right. Thank you, sir. And the reason, viewers, I like to ask that is because we are dotted about the country. Usually, tonight's pretty heavy in
North
the
America.
South again. Yeah, we do have international presence sometimes, and we cover east and west, north and south. So next in my lineup, I've got Brent. Brent, go ahead.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Brent Larson. I'm the creator and writer on the Silverline book Kalis, which we're currently just about finished with issue 3 and coming up on about a quarter of the way penciled for issue 4. So looking really good there. I'm also the creator of the upcoming Silverline book, Cape Town. So more news on that as it develops. I'm also in Orlando, Florida. You can find me on Brent.vector on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook. And I really like tacos.
Thank you. Rory, you didn't tell us your favorite football team.
Oh, I guess it'll have to be the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sorry. Brent wants to just come up with tacos. I'm gonna throw football.
There you go.
Yeah,
I like sports ball.
yeah, sports. Go team.
Sports harder.
If you ever want to know, those of you watching, more about the Silverline team, there is more than just this. Well, there are others, but not as great as the Wednesday.
Not
crew. The
nearly.
Wednesday
No, can't
the
hold a
pinnacle.
flame.
The pinnacle. So, but if you'd like to learn more about Silverline and our creators on SilverlineComics.com, you can right on the homepage. You'll scroll through, and we have interviews. We get to learn about us, and some of us talk about our craft and how we do what we do. So hop on over there sometime and read up. And there's a Brent interview, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
What we're talking about writing, of which I am one.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna show up and just hope I don't fall asleep like I did the last time, which had nothing to do with anyone except it was a long night for me. So anyway,
You're a busy man. You're a busy man.
well, I guess that's the reason. Anyway.
Sure, why not?
And the C stands for charismatic Michael Lanning. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I can't do any better than that. I'll try. I'm C. Michael Lanning, coming to you from That's Not My Hurricane state of Louisiana, where I've been unanimously elected as Mad Scribbler for the Rejects comic and comic advocator every Friday on Comics Newswire.
Well done.
That was the best one yet.
Every week, folks, we're gonna put a montage together.
Yeah.
Man, I got so many hurricanes out in the Gulf now.
You guys, and we're gonna see some of your artwork here later tonight, and on screen we are watching Haley work right now. For those of you watching, every time you show up to one of these shows, you get sneak peeks to upcoming work, which is really cool because you get to see it before the rest of the world. It's your VIP access. So Haley, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you are working on? And is this the protagonist of the story that we're seeing right now?
It is, yeah, with
All
some
right.
ice cream on his head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah, so I'm Haley Martin. I live sort of in the Daytona Beach area of Florida, and I am the artist for an upcoming Silverline title, Bear, and this is Bear himself right here I'm working on. So in this comic, it's like a Winnie the Pooh, Toy Story sort of world. It's like this world of stuffed animals, and their kid has gone missing, so they're sort of like trying to figure out what to do. And yeah, in this scene, he's kind of like lifeless, sort of. It's sort of
Terrifying.
like the world. You can see like other toys on the floor, so not to spoil too much of what's happening, but
He looks inanimate right now, but the life you put in his eyes,
But yeah, still so much character.
is something else. I like that. All right, hey,
So good.
wow, I get mesmerized by the penciling and the inking, so I try not to stare. And then we will travel across the continent, eschewing and throwing off laws and regulations, and we'll land in Oregon, where it's do as you please.
Oh,
And we'll say hello to Tim TK.
I'm Tim TK. I'm the associate editor and producer of our Wednesday night show. I also run the craft series on the Silverline blog. And I am the writer and creator of upcoming book Wolf Hunter, which I have got notes back on the rest of the run. So we are finishing up all that scripting.
Exciting.
Yeah. And yes, I'm over in the dark and stormy foothills, soon to be snowy, hopefully, of Oregon. Yeah, it's great.
All right. All right. Thank you. And I am Scott Wakefield. I am co-creator and co-writer of the upcoming title Steam Patriots with my good buddy Royal O'Boyle. And I help out with some publicity here with Silverline, and I like to invite other folks. If you have a show or a podcast, or if you do reviews, if you are some sort of character on the World Wide Web and would like to work with us and promote our projects and products, we would like to do likewise. Let's chat. You can reach out to us through the Silverline Facebook or internet, or website rather, and we can talk about that. And I am in Western New York, smack dab between Buffalo and Rochester, and likewise expecting snow, although it was 70 degrees today and I got in a motorcycle ride, so I was
There you go.
very happy. Very
I
pleased.
can't wait to get up there and do that.
Well, you live in Florida. You can ride all the time, dude. You should have 100 motorcycles.
Too hot.
I'd have
Well, you're in a place where you can ride shirtless.
Yeah. Helmet, no shirt. Short shorts.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, these Daisy Dukes are getting too small.
It's a Florida lifestyle. I lived that for a while.
Oh, man.
Pictures or it didn't happen.
Oh my.
So you
Oh my.
say that.
Say tonight we're starting off with fantasy.
So Roy, I'll send you a picture I have of me on top of a giant alpaca thing, wearing some flip flops, some classic too tight silkies. If you know, you know.
Early 2000s for me.
Wow.
Okay, this is what you're not going to find on the SilverlineComics.com website.
Silverline After Dark.
This is inside. This is more BS.
We got a convention coming up, Comic Conway this Saturday. We're in a mood.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna get back to the business. What I was teasing is, yes, the next 3 Saturdays we will be involved. We will be participating in an online comic convention called Comic Conway, and it is, if you go on Facebook, you will find them. And we have the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st. We will be participating in panels, and I can give you just 1 second some insight about what we'll be talking about. We will be talking about who and what is Silverline. We're going to be talking about our titles, including Cat and Mouse, Kalis. Brent will be just telling us everything we wanted to know, all the questions, everything you want to know, but we're afraid to ask about Kalis. Other titles, Twilight Grim, Sniper and Rook. One of our usuals is not here tonight. That John Medic, that's his book, Sniper and Rook. Continuing on, we're going to talk about Steam Patriots, strategies of comic book inking, penciling, coloring, writing, and then wrapping it all up on the 21st. We will have a Q&A with as many people from Silverline as we can get there. Hopefully, it's just about everybody, but the team keeps growing, and it's really cool to see all the people involved with creating Silverline stories. And we've got writers and inkers and pencilers and colorers and letterers and people who do multiple jobs. So we'll all be there. That is Comic Conway. Write that down. We will be on the mornings. I don't know the full hours. I know when we'll be there at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. November 7th, November 14th, and November 21st. Make a note of it. Think of some questions so you can have those ready if you want to talk to us. Questions are always great. They keep the thing moving, and we're not all just kind of looking at each other and running out of stuff to talk about. But we do have plenty to talk about. We'll have lots of people, and we thank the Comic Conway people, the folks, for inviting us. Roland in the past and other Silverliners have participated in their actual conventions, which hopefully we'll get back to in 2021, hopefully some real in-person conventions. But Roland was very happy and pleased with how he's always been treated by them. So I think Roland would be okay if I expressed his gratitude, because he's mentioned it to us a couple times, how nice the Comic Conway people have been to us.
Speaking of Roland and the chat, Roland in the chat says Rejects is looking fantastic.
All right.
Not what we have on screen right now, but he's
What-
just saying
yeah,
that as a
what-
general observation.
All right. Yeah, we keep plugging along, and we keep having more and more stories ready to go, and it's a great problem to have, and I know Roland's getting anxious in a good way to get stories out there, because it's just kind of like they're all the work's getting done, and we just have to wait on our production schedule and budgets and marketing and all that sort of stuff. So good problems to have, and having so many creative people involved is an awesome thing. And speaking of creative people, I've got all these people here tonight that I'm going to wrangle, and we're going to talk about sci-fi versus fantasy. And this is where cue the explosive, because it's going to be a battle royale, right, guys? Right?
Yeah.
We're gonna right. I mean, look at.
I plan on killing someone.
They're just rearing to go. Okay. I'm gonna go down the line. You are going to say your response is, you have one of two responses: sci-fi or fantasy. Rory,
Fantasy.
Brent,
Sci-fi.
Sci-fantasy.
Your rules don't interest me, man.
All right, I can see how it's gonna go. Okay, see Michael Lanning, sci-fi or fantasy?
Golly.
Taking too long.
I'm telling you, let's see, here's the idea. Okay, are we talking, but we say, I know.
No, it begins. It begins.
But when we talk about fantasy, are we talking about elves and,
High fantasy.
High or low fantasy, and then is sci-fi hard or loose sci-fi?
hard fantasy,
Sci-fi noir.
I'm going to go with fantasy
Yes.
because I feel like you can include sci-fi in there later.
That's what I was thinking.
I think you're just afraid, like, you're gonna get up in the morning and go out to work, and fantasy's gonna be there, and it's gonna be like, I caught your podcast.
Just get shanked by Legolas on your way to a mailbox.
I said fantasy.
Okay, Haley.
Yeah, my gut says sci-fi. I don't know.
Okay,
Ooh,
that's
a
gentlemen,
contentious decision.
You see that? She just
I
said,
hope you're prepared to back that.
the gut says.
Yeah. I mean,
All
I
right.
can't totally explain it, but I have to pick one. So.
Okay, thank you for following the rules.
All right, you're right. Can I change my answer?
Yes.
Okay, fantasize.
Fantasize is the
Sounds like
name
you're
of my
killing fantasy.
ska punk band.
There you go.
Okay, all right, Tim.
Sounds like a bunch of ska bards.
Yes.
Sci-fi?
My next D&D character is an elf that just plays a saxophone, but only in 2/4 swing beat. So like Brent, I would say my favorite genre is sci-fantasy, but I also like Arthur C. Clarke, so I'll say sci-fi.
Okay. And I'm not going to answer because that's the privilege I get.
That's the host privilege.
No.
I don't want to skew the results to a.
Is that what that-
Are we? Is
Sounds
this
like
an
you-
election?
And the polling says that
No. We don't need any of that. We're done.
tonight we're going to go to Pennsylvania. If we can go
Where fantasy is pulling ahead early.
we're gonna call it for sci-fi.
In the news, both fantasy and sci-fi declared victory.
Then a giant robot game.
Go-
Destroyed
go.
half the city.
Coming up, we'll be hearing from sci-fi. We predict it'll be a. Okay, all right.
Have you seen
We'll
those
be hearing
robots?
from Roland.
Those robots are huge. They're huge.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's clear we have a hard time picking, and I I know I put you on the spot, and that was cruel because I will say the same thing. Sci fantasy,
Mhm.
sci-fi. I love them both. I I I can't decide either because both genres are super cool, and I do know people that like they love Star Wars and Star Trek and all that stuff, and they said, Lord of the Rings. I've never,
But those
never.
people are boring.
Yeah, I love them all.
Yeah,
I love them. I love them so much that I want to marry them.
the people.
So, um, first question. Well, okay. Second question. I already asked that. Um, does anybody have any titles in the comic book world that come to mind that are great examples of sci-fi or fantasy?
I would say for sci-fi, Tokyo Ghost by Rick Remender, which I've talked about 3 weeks in a row now.
Okay, I'm gonna help you out here because I was gonna suggest a Rick Morander book, but not that one.
Okay.
I was actually gonna suggest oh golly, now I forgot. Thanks, Tim. Black Science.
Oh yeah.
Black Science.
So what we're saying is, Roland, we need to find the budget to hire Rick Remender.
Well, yeah, because now let's also talk about fantasy, and there's a Rick Remender book for that. Yeah, see, you don't have to pick one.
Yeah,
Scott. You could.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So okay, here I don't want to throw off our track here. Are superhero comic books sci-fi or fantasy?
I'd say it depends on the hero.
Yeah.
See, that was
'Cause-
something
Depends
that
how
I
they come
thought
about.
of.
Their origin story.
Because you got the X-Men, which is a genetic mutation, so lends
Mhm.
itself more to science fiction because there is a scientific explanation for all the powers and stuff. And then you have Moon Knight, who has a crazy Egyptian god trapped in his brain that tells him to kill the Avengers.
Okay. Here I was just gonna go DC fantasy Marvel science.
Like, think about
Concho told me.
Thor. Like, Thor is like from mythology, but he's also an
Mhm.
alien.
Yep.
So it's like, what?
Well, that's also
This
in
is one character. Which one is he?
That-
yeah. Also in Marvel,
just
they
the
played a little
original
fast on
retcon.
the loose. Thor said, "Well, to people as uncivilized as Earth is, our technology just looks like magic."
That's true. Yeah. So I guess that kind of explains.
You know, Stan Lee said the reason why he has the hammer, because he wanted that velocity. He wanted a reason for Thor to fly, not just the
Yeah.
Superman get up and just go.
Hmm.
So I think it still falls under sci-fi, even though it has that mythological,
Right.
sway.
But with how things tend to go, though, I say it definitely crosses the line into sci fantasy. Where like we have this cool advanced alien tech. Also, I'm just flying through space shooting lightning for I can.
Okay. So then Star Wars. You
Part of it.
It's a fad.
Explain to me this War in the Stars.
That's one with Hagrid.
I'm talking I'm talking Ronald Reagan Star Wars here, people.
Yes.
I can hold a conversation on that one.
The Soviets, those commies. Which no.
And it's funny. There's a Rick Remender book.
Wait, I'm talking Luke and Leia, and then all the others. Sci-fi. It has spaceships. It has laser guns.
And
I
also,
call it sci-fi.
also space wizards, and the entire mythology of Star Wars is actually
a
about the
biological
Wells,
Yeah,
Which-
the Wells. Yeah.
which were an ancient race of space gods who literally tractored planets and stars out of other parts of the universe, created a pocket galaxy, and then walled it in with their own force of will. So that created the uncharted space and the wall. And then you have what is known as the galaxy. The Star Wars take place in their galaxy, so they lost their creativity at some point there. But and then it just became space farts that inhabit people, granted them weird abilities, but they are defined as gods, not just advanced beings. They have some level of divinity that allows them to exist and outside of the realm of understanding.
I have never heard that before.
Oh, I can go on a tirade.
If you look at
Can you make me a
Rogue One,
PowerPoint?
they talk about they kind of touch on it in Rogue One.
Yeah,
okay.
Cherut is a monk of the Wills. They have
Of the Wills, yeah.
one of the last temples that was destroyed by the Sith Order because the entity known only as I believe they just call it the Dark Will, or which creates the evil that creates the Sith Lords. Found on Korriban, which was then harvested by the Sith, and then when I forgot his name, but the first group of rogue Jedi go there and enslave the Sith. They become the Sith Lords. They find the Dark Will, and that corrupts them. I this is not where I was going to go
I
into
guess I
today.
didn't get it.
But yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So I think
So-
this is making it clearer.
Yeah.
Fantasy.
So what they
Yeah, I was
did
about to
is
say,
they went
Tim,
through.
I
So
think
with the
Tim
Dark Will,
thinks
they
it's
went through and
dying.
destroyed all the temples of the Wills because to them they were false gods. But the Wills lived on through the Force and created the Jedi Order.
Interesting.
And so that created the division of religions within Star Wars.
And the thing about it is, this is actually Lucas. This isn't just.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
about the whole mythology, but
This
the
is
whole
yeah. This
Wells
is
thing
the,
came
well,
from
this is
Lucas.
primarily old canon form. Some of the stuff has changed since then. I remembered his name.
Mhm.
The first Sith Lord was Junta Paul, and in the old canon, he is referenced frequently. Not so much in the new canon, but that is the whole division of religions where the Sith Lords come from, and the fact that it is actually a weird monolithic take on the Crusades.
Wait a minute. The first Sith Lord's name was what?
Junta Paul.
So the first Sith Lord in the Star Wars universe was French.
Yes.
Okay, now that does make sense. If you
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
They're good at war, Star Wars. You know.
Yes.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
Let's talk about.
Wait, wasn't that to Paul? She was on the Enterprise.
That's
Junta
how
Paul
powerful he
found.
was.
Yeah.
I'm confused. I like Yoda.
Baby
yeah.
Yoda.
Baby Yoda. Yeah. I can't keep it. So okay.
No, yeah.
So you would say fantasy. Star Wars is fantasy with laser beams and spaceships.
Yes. Or as I like to call it, sci-fantasy.
Sci-fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay.
The whole so there is also a weird meta explanation of Star Wars and why it takes place in the setting it does. It's supposed to be in a place where technology is advanced to the point of stagnation, which is why from Old Republic to New Republic you barely see a lot of changes. Whereas we've gone through a lot of changes from the 80s until now.
Yeah.
For 1,000 years, they may have made like 2 modifications to how blasters work because they just can't find other ways to work around it. So that's the point where mysticism takes over.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I always like sci-fi stuff with toggle switches and throttles on their spaceships. Like,
Yeah.
why would you need those things? And why would you like Star Trek? Why does the Enterprise need
The thruster wagon's burning out.
why does it need a helm? Why does it? But then the greatest of all controls was Star Trek when they stopped numbering them. Insurrection, when Commander Riker flies the Enterprise with a joystick through the nebula.
Yeah.
I'm taking it manual.
That's the best. That's the best. Okay.
Fantasy.
Star Trek sci-fi, except for Q.
Except for Q. But also they do
Q.
explain them as simply being extra-dimensional beings, not necessarily divine beings.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I just like to call him a force ghost, but you know.
Sure.
You know what it came down to for me was I remember when I was a kid, I saw this book of the Star Trek book that had all of the ships in the Starfleet class, and they had all the schematics, and they had exactly where the warp nacelles were and where the where the phaser banks were and all this and that. And I'm like, this is really cool. And then I saw a book for Star Wars with the the schematics of the ships, and I was like, who gives a crap
Mhm.
how they work? I don't care how ships work in Star Wars. So I
Right.
think that's when I knew that Star Wars is probably fantasy and not sci-fi.
Yeah, I have one of the compendiums of old canon for Star Wars, and a lot of it is focused on the developments of new kinds of force magic or fighting styles. Care very little about the science. You only see like a few things, which is the development of kyber crystals for blasters, which defines going from the Imperial Age to the New Republic Age, or just different things like that. Everything, all the major developments are all about magic, essentially.
It'd be interesting if they went back and started doing stuff in that time zone,
Mhm.
that time, that age. I
Yeah.
think it would really lift it.
Well, to promote some of my friends who aren't necessarily at Silverline, they are doing a High Republic series of books now. They have announced a whole new set of canons coming out that's set in the High Republic. So before the Old Republic, before this is leading into the Great Hyperspace War. All the stuff of when the Jedi Temple essentially was at its peak before the First War with the Sith, and then the subsequent civil wars.
So like when the Force was kind of full on. Not,
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. You know,
I have some friends and colleagues who are working on stuff like that, so people should check it out. So.
Wow, nice.
Okay, well that's settled. No argument.
Fantasy wins
See
out.
y'all next week.
Star Wars is fantasy. Star Trek is sci-fi. We're
Battlestar Galactica,
But-
sci-fi.
sci-fi.
Yes.
So most of them, I mean, most of the sci-fis don't involve space magic, so they're mostly clear cut, and that is kind of genius about Star Wars, that we do have to have this discussion, and I think it makes it much more in depth and interesting, because it's not so linear and two-dimensional. So that's pretty cool. I don't want to kill the Star Wars Star Trek discussion.
It'll come back up.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
It has
it
to.
always does.
I have it tattooed on my body.
The whole canon, he means.
Okay, yes. Let's
You've
have
been
the.
reading
Wipe
this.
the back piece.
I might get the timeline tattooed at some point. That'd be dope. Just the different logos.
So does one genre lend itself to a medium better than the other? For instance, and this is my experience, I did not read a lot of sci-fi books. In fact, I was rarely interested. I wasn't interested in the Star Wars books, the Star Trek books, but fantasy books I just devoured. I mean, all of the Dragonlance, TSR, the whole Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, everything. Fantasy books, I've read a zillion times more. What is that the case for you guys? I think there's the medium. Does the sci-fi genre fit more visually because it's got explosions and blasters and spaceships? And to read about that maybe isn't as interesting.
I think there's less to pull from, because fantasy, we have the entire history of humankind to pull from and all the strange offshoots that could have been, versus sci-fi. Seems like, when did it really start? Early 19 teens, like H.P. Lovecraft through now. The technology jumped so much, but we don't know what the end could be, the end product of something 100 years down the road, what that's going to look like. I think
Right.
fantasy just lends more.
Because the biggest thing with was it Mary Shelley? It's like, what happened if they could like bring back a body?
Yeah.
That is-
Well-
and that
It's still very human based.
yeah.
Right.
I think it depends on how hard you loosely play with it. Like if you had science fiction like Arthur C. Clarke, which is very much the procedural of taking a ship into space, orbiting an alien craft, and doing like an actual archaeological dig on a alien. I'm referencing the book here if people know, but
Sounds like Alien.
yeah, there and doing like an archaeological dig and just not really discovering anything too nutty, but what would archaeology look like in space on an alien craft? Whereas if you want something with like Terry Pratchett sci-fi, where he can just kind of be like, it's science, it works, it just does. Don't
There you
question
go.
it.
Yeah.
He built it in a cave. We just
Yeah, he built it in a cave. Tony.
I really think sci-fi kind of comes from a birth of that wonderment, but also when you look at Jules Verne, it's an analytical mind of how things work.
Yeah.
That's how come. Like I think we talked about it a couple weeks. The 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and the Nautilus. He goes into depth of what the Nautilus and how big it is and everything. Go ahead.
Yep, that was a good pun going into.
Going into depth at depth.
Yeah, I'm always on.
Dad jokes without even trying.
But yeah, I think it's just an analytical mind because then his contemporary being H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells kind of saw more of the danger of what science could bring, I guess, and that it wasn't so much analytical as it was, I would hate to say fear driven, but really wonder driven, I guess.
Yeah,
I'd say wonder. That's a good one.
A fantasy, so not so much. I think fantasy is kind of what we would want to happen,
right.
That whole, I wish I could teleport so I don't have to walk to the fridge.
Right.
To quote one of our professors at Full Sail, they both fall under the concept of the Fantastica or the fantastical, and with science fiction, it usually always serves some sort of speculation under like where we are now. How can we extrapolate this? Whereas fantasy serves the role of the moral insertion, which is the natural versus technology, which is if humanity or morals were to be at the very best, what would they look at when they were to carve out this part of thing? If industrialization or modernization didn't get in the way.
Please, Mr. Young, go deeper. I think fantasy is just better because there's better music.
There you go.
I've yet to see a bunch of space bards, and some space hijinks, which is my next idea.
Hey, look, well, if you ever have that, if you get the hankering to know what would happen if you had a fantasy world and science was introduced into it, you could always watch Outward or Onward.
Oh yes.
Was it a young Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court?
Onward is a fantastic movie. I somehow missed that when it was in the theater. My kids had me watch it a couple weeks ago, and
that's because it was only there for
right,
a week.
I saw it, and that was the last thing I did before quarantine. So
yeah,
I think
that's exactly
a weird time.
Quarantine happened like a week or two right after it came out.
Yeah, because I remember I saw it for my birthday, and then it was like 2 days after that, like stuff started shutting down.
Oh, I loved it. With my van, my kids kept saying I'm the his brother there.
The paint a unicorn on it.
Yeah.
Or do you already have one? I don't know.
No.
It's just him playing the banjo.
What? So what does fantasy have to have magic?
A little bit.
Or at least some sort of
define magic.
Yeah.
Something unexplainable.
So what if it's a story that just takes place in a medieval castle? Then it's just historical fiction. If it's just
right,
sure, yeah.
Nothing.
I guess that also depends on if it's on a secondary world in some way. Like if we're to,
Okay.
Yeah.
But that you really, it has to have something fantastical, right? Like
either you're adding magic to it or making it a secondary world. Yeah.
Right. Or some sort of element that doesn't exist in ours, like unicorns or
dragons.
The unobtainium.
Right.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Why?
Rory, so speaking of music, I am a firm believer, and that these might be fighting words, that Star Wars would not be where it is if it weren't for John Williams.
Sure, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right, good. Because
I
You
think
almost went from best friend to antagonist there.
yeah,
I think every Star Wars fan, like even if they're like me, where they move beyond the visual medium, like yeah, it's cool and all, but the books are where I experience most of my Star Wars. The John Williams score and they were like the original trilogy is really what kind of solidified it as the space opera, the
Mm.
space opera. Yeah,
yes.
Just goes to show how much music can carry a movie.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
Mm.
I read a couple of years ago. I read an article about the death of good theme music,
Mm.
because well, one of the reasons they said is that they would use like the directors and producer whatever would use placeholder music to until the score was written, and then the composer would just kind of modify that placeholder music. So I'm sure you can all sing Indiana Jones, Star Wars,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but can you sing the Avengers theme
Yeah,
music?
is that a video?
Yes,
I don't
I
Dun,
can.
dun, dun.
Video
Yeah,
about
I can think of it. I hear it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's not as iconic. I get
Right.
that.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's
I'll
really
give you
not.
that.
X-Men. The X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
yeah? Well, yeah, the cartoon, yeah.
Yeah.
No. You have the cartoon, but you also have some of the score, and I can't remember if it was the first one or the second one. You'll hear it like when they do the
Yeah, they
box
modified.
opening.
They brought it
Yeah.
into like the strings and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's there.
But
I don't think it. I think sometimes you have to have that combination because when you had John Williams score, you also had, and you had Star Wars.
Brought to
Yeah.
you by THX.
So
yeah,
Well, yeah.
The
Hey,
audience
Scott,
is
Are
listening.
you talking about that the ever from a painting guy? He did a few. He's
Mm,
done
I'm
a
talking
series
about-
on YouTube,
Yeah.
and he talks
like
about theme
showed-
music and placeholder music and all that kind of stuff.
possibly. It was just a couple years ago that I read this.
Oh, you read it? I saw
I
it.
read-
Yeah, I think I saw the same video, Brent, that you're talking
Yeah.
about, where
Yep.
he like showed here was the placeholder music, and then here's the music they actually used.
Oh.
It's really
Yeah,
similar.
and
Yeah.
he makes some good points, but I mean, look at it. This is how I look at it. We keep talking about how great how great the themes of yesteryear were.
Yeah.
But who are we talking about? If you take John Williams out of the equation,
Hans
there
Zimmer.
were some other
Howard
awesome
Shore.
composers.
Okay,
Yeah, Hans Zimmer
like
did everything else.
Danny Elfman, even Danny Elfman.
yeah.
okay, who's still
Gary
working?
Goldsmith.
Yeah.
I think about like
Phil
the
Collins.
Godfather theme is very iconic, but I mean, there for every Godfather, there was like how many movies they came out that year that no one can actually hum the music,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so like I love the Avengers score. I thought it was so great. I was so glad Alex Silvestri got actually an Oscar nod for our nomination for it finally. But there's a point. I have to rack my brain to actually think of the other Marvel scores.
Yeah, I can't think of Spider-Man or Thor or
Yeah.
No.
And
But I
are
think
they
though
meant to be
what
really
we
memorable? I don't know.
what we're missing in movies though has kind of transferred to television, because one of the big scores that came out recently or in the past 5 or 6 years, maybe longer, was the Game of Thrones score.
Yeah.
And the dun 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 dun, and it had that epic tone to it. I guess it just depends on if they're lazy or not. Really,
I think I also moved on to some extent also video games, just kind of newer medium where that had the budget for a moment, where there's a certain Martin O'Donnell soundtrack that every man or boy has sang in a locker room or bathroom after they played Halo 2,
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Scores are great when they're firing on all cylinders. Like I love the Dark Knight theme.
Yeah.
But the Man of Steel theme was instantly forgettable. But that was kind of because I thought the movie.
Yeah.
Was,
Yeah.
Wonder Woman's music.
That was good.
Part when she showed up in Superman versus Batman with her theme music,
Yeah.
the theme music was the best part. She's got a good theme
That's
song.
part of the movie. Yeah.
So okay, I veered us off course there with theme music. When it made me think of something else and I've forgotten it. Darn it!
I think.
Darn
Well,
it.
well,
But
also,
how many of these soundtracks have you bought? 'Cause I remember buying the Lord of the Rings soundtracks, but I don't think I've bought anything sci-fi.
I will admit that the Avengers Portals music they played when, at the end of Endgame when they all came out of the portals, I actually have it on my workout playlist.
Yeah.
I love
While you're
it.
hulking out.
Well, or I'm running away on the treadmill. Either way. So,
Yeah.
Oh, that,
yeah.
has the blah sound has that died yet? Because
I hope so.
that was it. Blah
The
in everything.
Inception effect, I think is what I used to call it.
What do they call it?
Well, I call it the Inception effect.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
when they show something briefly, and then briefly, and then it goes, and then they send it rolls through the trailer. Yeah.
You cut out. Can you do that again?
Yeah.
Yep.
I hope that sound has gone away.
I'm gonna capture that from the video and make that your text tone.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't think it's disappeared, but it's inverted. So now I hear, oh.
Yeah. The cutaway.
You know what I
Running
mean?
out of
Yeah.
ideas.
I'm hearing that everywhere now.
You are correct. That's good. Okay. I'm gonna listen for that. The new I've enjoyed Star Trek Discovery. Their theme song doesn't grab me until it goes bum 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 bum. It's like a dud song until they bring in the Star Trek
The
tune.
nostalgia.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like is anybody else watching Discovery?
No, it's on my list, but I haven't got to it.
So I'm not going to give any spoilers away. You know that Captain Pike is in it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And there is they bring the Enterprise in for a little while because it's like it is such a heavy fanboy, like spoon feeding everybody. Here's the Enterprise. Here's Star Trek that you love. And
Yeah.
Enterprise.
Here comes the Enterprise. Open up.
That's a second Warriors
Yeah.
for the night.
Warriors 2, the Enterprise.
Yeah, it is a heavy nod to that, and I think it's to placate people who were thinking it wasn't Star Trekky enough.
Like I kind of thinking about scores and everything in our topic of tonight, fantasy and sci-fi. On Sunday, we talked about a writer concept called the Triangle of Weird. When you're establishing your world or telling a story, you have three elements. One of them can be really weird, but the other two have to ground the story.
Okay.
So I think when you get to fantasy and sci-fi, which typically have some sort of alien setting or alien story, that alien part is going, especially if it is a high fantasy or a extreme or loose sci-fi, where there's going to be a lot of stuff that is outside of our concept of reality. There's going to be some things where it's so weird your brain doesn't know how to wrap around it, but the score really helps to ground that situation or make it more real to you. Your brain is more likely to process or memorize things when more senses are combined, and they don't have smell-o-vision yet. And the olfactory is the strongest memory sense, but audio follows closely behind that. So I think that's kind of the role it plays, is combining those two senses together to make it that much more impactful.
Have you ever watched a movie? I've watched a movie. I can't remember what movie it was. It's like, by all accounts, this should be a good movie. What's wrong with it? And then you realize there's no score.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just flat and dead. And dialogue's good. The story seems good, but for some reason, it's just you kind of need that. Now, I do question though: can you have you can have a sci-fi show or a sci-fi movie that doesn't have an iconic score and it can be memorable. Like I can't remember Blade Runner, if Blade Runner had one or not.
Yeah.
But
I remember.
Van
Um,
Gogh did it.
Yeah,
That's all
I remember a
know.
lot of Blade Runner's music. Yeah.
but what about fantasy? Can you actually have fantasy without having that epic score to it?
That'd be
Can't
very
think of-
boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that.
Yeah.
I mean, the animated Hobbits, that was in a musical.
Golly, please don't bring that up.
Oh,
That is my wife's favorite movie.
The Hobbit.
Yes, the cartoon.
Oh, so bad.
No,
you don't like
stop.
Frodo of the Nine Fingers?
No, Rory.
We've gone over this.
You're beclowning yourself. Stop talking.
Next thing you know, you're going to be bringing up The Last Unicorn.
The Hobbit. The Hobbit is not the Lord of the Rings. Frodo is not in The Hobbit. The Hobbit by Rankin Bass is pure gold.
But you still had the sequel to The Hobbit,
We
which was
have
Return of the
found
King,
Scott's button.
with Frodo of the Nine Fingers.
That's Return of the King by Rankin Bass, yes, was to make up for Ralph Bakshi's mistake of making Lord of the Rings, animated Lord of the Rings. Yes.
Have y'all ever heard of Nostalgia Critic?
No.
No.
He'll
That
take
sounds fantastic.
he takes old movies and he criticizes them. Well, he took the Lord of the Rings movie,
Ralph Bakshi.
and he kind of had Bakshi as like he was playing the character, his brother was playing the character, explaining why he did such crazy things on that show. If you get a chance, it's on YouTube.
What's it called?
Go check out
Nostalgia?
Nostalgia Critic.
Okay, because that is one of the horrible movies that I force myself to watch once a year. I don't know
A whole
why.
bunch of them.
And I had my kids watch it with me once, and they're like halfway through the movie, they're like,
What is this?
"What's going on?"
Is that the one with Leonard Nimoy?
No, that's just
Yeah,
Bilbo.
yeah. What was it?
Bilbo Baggins, the bravest little hobbit of them all. Leonard Nimoy did his own music video.
Oh, okay. It's totally
Oh,
separate.
that's right.
Yeah.
About Bill.
Hobbit.
Have you never seen?
Yes,
Where?
yeah.
Yes. And
Man.
Kick boots.
it's so weird because it predates the Rankin Bass movie. So it's just him singing about a book character. Like it is so weird. And he's got girls that are dancing. They're dancing
It's
like
all
this.
psychedelic.
Are we talking about something that's on the dark web?
It might be now. That's the
Leonard
uncensored
Nimoy.
version.
Leonard Nimoy, Bilbo Baggins song. It is
Yeah.
oh my goodness, amazing. So the Rankin Bass Hobbit, yes, it is from my childhood, so I have this attachment to it. But the soundtrack, yes, is very corny, very late 70s, with the warbly guitar voice that yeah, and it's yes, but those are pretty much musicals. That one,
think-
and,
Wasn't John Hurt Aragorn?
Leonard Nimoy?
yes. No, it's
I'm trying. It was somebody that.
John. Oh gosh, he was in everything. He did a voice for. I'll think of it. His last movie was when Orson Welles tried to make a comeback. The Other Side of the Wind. Did anybody see the documentary about that movie?
No.
Well, because Orson Welles, peaked when he was like what, 22 or something like that. It was just.
Well, that wasn't all our problems.
Well, I know. Well, but he made Citizen Kane and and stuff he made before Citizen Kane, and then he was just, it was awful, and he gained like 900 pounds and all this sort of stuff, and he was unhireable, and he tried to make this comeback. John Huston, that's the voice of Gandalf. Angelica
No.
Houston's dad.
Okay.
No,
John
okay.
Huston is in The Other Side of the Wind or something like this, and it took forever to film. It was crazy. He had no real script. Nobody knew what the plot was. And there's a documentary about it on Netflix or Amazon or something like that, and it it was horrible because and Orson Welles is trying to promote the thing, and people are asking him, well, what's it about? And he's got a cigar, and he has no real answer for anybody.
You got to read it to find out.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
what
It was-
Rosebud is really about. Yeah.
But John Hurt was Aragorn,
Okay. The mini skirt,
the Ranger. Yeah,
mini skirt Aragorn.
yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brent, you've got to when you get off the show tonight, don't go to bed. You got to watch Leonard
In its
Nimoy.
entirety.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I really want to sleep well tonight.
You're saying you don't soothe yourself to sleep with the voice of Leonard Nimoy every night?
Thinking about Bilbo.
He's gonna sing
I don't know,
song to you
man.
about a
Bilbo
hobbit.
Baggins.
Some things weren't meant to be heard.
Oh,
By,
it's a catchy song.
Any of William Shatner's songs?
Oh, it's so good. I love them all. I have both albums.
Lucy in the sky
Oh,
with diamonds.
did you see that Vin Diesel had put out a song earlier this year, and he's put out a second song now?
Yes.
God.
So Vin
No,
Diesel is
that's
now
good,
launching a
that's good.
music career.
Oh.
I'd only buy it if it's Groot rap.
well, I think I actually do need to exit the premise.
It is that point. It is the midpoint of our show. Viewers and listeners, I'm going to let Brent. Haley, are you sticking around? Are you going to bounce as well?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna bounce too. Trying to
Okay.
think. What do I
All
want
right,
to say?
so I'll give you two the opportunity to say goodnight and where folks can see your work and so forth. Haley, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so so you can follow me on Instagram at Haley Martin Art. Haley is HALEY. And then I do my own webcomic, which is called Heroic Shenanigans. It's at heroicshenanigans.com, but if you just Google it and spell it wrong, you'll probably still find it. It's kind of a mouthful. And that is a superhero comic. So that is something that I've like run into when posting it on other webcomic hosting sites, and they want you to put your genre, and I'm like, is it sci-fi or fantasy? I don't know. I think I ended up putting action, but it hasn't been like as actiony as people probably would expect. So I'm like, I don't know. One web does actually have a superhero category, so that's nice.
Slice of life.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm like, I don't know. Like they have superpowers, so is that sci-fi or is it like more magical? So one of those great unanswered questions, maybe.
You think they would
Yeah.
have superhero as a genre at least?
Right.
Yeah.
Haley, thank you. If you want to, you're welcome to stay, welcome to go whenever you need to. And Brent, go for it.
All right. Good night, everyone. And like I said, you can find me on Brent.vector on the Instas. And that's really all I've got.
Brent is the author of Kalis. Read his books. All
They're
right?
the best.
They're
Really good.
really swell.
Yeah.
And
Darn it.
yes. And I'm assuming you guys will actually commiserate after we're gone, and will come out with a clear winner. So I'm
It's about to
expecting
get
a full
heated.
report.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We're gonna.
This is going to be after dark.
This is round 2 of the battle coming up. Brent, Haley, good night. Thank you. We'll see you guys later.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Later.
Night, Haley.
Good night.
So for our viewers out there, if you joined us midway through the show, we are talking about sci-fi versus fantasy, and as usual, we have stayed right on topic. It has been a very coherent, linear, well thought out discussion. It's been point and counterpoint. We have discussed Star Wars and Star Trek, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and we've touched on some other topics, I think. We usually leave our topics pretty vague, meaning we don't want to narrow them down so tight, because we like to to run all around the topic. If you are watching, if you're even watching this later, you can still toss a comment on there. We try our best to get back to comments and questions even after the live show. And we are all creators on Silverline, and I try to plug our website, SilverlineComics.com. You can find all of our titles except the 2 newest titles. Those are coming soon. The 2 newest titles is Cat and Mouse #3 and a brand new title, the first issue. It's a whopper. It's a 48-pager called Trumps. And those were just recently crowdfunded on Kickstarter. If you are a backer, thank you. And your books and extra goodies should be coming in the mail very, very, very soon. On our Facebook page somewhere, we had an update. I think it made it to our page. If not, I think in your email, if you backed it, you probably saw some video of the pages coming off the printer at Kablam Digital Printing, which is very cool. So all of our titles are at SilverlineComics.com. Also, if you joined us after the beginning of the show, mark your calendars for November 7th. I got to do my math. What's the 14th and 21st? We are going to be participating in a digital comic convention called Comic Conway. That is one word with the C's, COMICONWAY. Go to their Facebook page. Make sure to like, follow, look at their events, because we are going to be participating in their digital convention. We will have a panel of Silverline creatives. We'll be talking about lots of different topics. It'll be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We are going to be talking about our titles, Cat and Mouse, KLS, mine and Rory's title, Steam Patriots, Wolf Hunter. Tim, is it Wolf singular?
Yes.
Okay, Wolf Hunter.
Yes, the implication is the character becomes the Wolf Hunter.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, it's not okay. I've seen it with an S on it, but I think that's just a typo.
Yeah.
And there's going to be the kids version, Wolf Hunter.
Wolf Hunter.
Wolf,
Yes.
Wolf Hunter.
Ooh, woo, Wolf Hunter.
with the pop gun. Somebody there's a meme on Facebook. They had remember, even Winnie the Pooh was packing.
Yeah.
They got, the pop gun. So we're going to be talking about Silverline. We're going to be talking about tools and strategies of comic book penciling and inking, breaking into the industry, coloring, strategies of writing. We're going to have a big Q&A for as many. We're going to get as many of us on the final Q&A on November 21st together. But join us for those panels, because we're going to be talking about not just Silverline, but we're going to be talking about our experiences in the comic book industry. And if you are interested in the inner workings, what it takes to write a comic, to draw a comic, working with an artist, working with a team of people, it's a process. You know, if you write a novel, you're going to sit down, you're going to have you and an editor and a proofreader, and that team depends on the size of the house you're working with. But a comic book, it's not quite on the scale of, let's say, a movie, but you have scripts, you have pencilers, inkers. Sometimes those are the same person. Colorists, sometimes that's the same person as well, but you might have a mix. You got lettering, you got a lot to think about with layout. Your plot has to make sense between you and the artist, unless you're one of those amazing individuals who can write and draw at the same time. If you are, I have a deep loathing disdain for you.
Seconded.
I never want to meet you. So we're going to talk about stuff like that.
Don't
and then
come to Silverline.
Don't bring your talent here.
take your talent elsewhere. We're going to talk all of those.
Eisner and your
Talk about all those topics that that are involved with the creation of a comic book that we call sequential art. And it's very different than static images or just words on a page. And it's a really cool process. And I am relatively new to this, and in the comic book world. I liked comic books growing up. I didn't live, eat, and breathe comic books. And it wasn't until I went to school at Full Sail, and Roland was one of my instructors, and he just got me to fall in love with it as a means of storytelling that I hadn't thought about. And it's a really cool world to get to know and to learn about how it's changed over the last 100 years, and how the depth of storytelling has waxed and waned, about two-dimensional characters, just punching and fighting crime or righting wrongs, and they were perfect, to characters who had flaws, and how art has changed from very basic, mostly primary color, single tone characters, to very, very in depth, and like the stuff you're seeing here. Right now, you're watching C. Michael Lanning. Is that just penciling? Or are you?
Yeah, just penciling.
And
Just
so,
penciling.
who do you ink, or does someone ink over your?
Becca Winslow is
Okay.
the inker.
Okay.
But yeah, so somebody inks over me.
So he's got a digital pencil there going, and
Is she on the other team? She's really good.
on the
Huh?
Sunday?
Yeah, is she on the Sunday team?
Sometimes I think
Sometimes,
she's her job and everything kind of
Yeah.
gets in the way of her being a stream.
Responsibilities are overrated.
She's making money.
Gosh.
Ooh. Yeah, you're getting VIP access. You get to see characters being created, and this is you're working on rejects, yes?
Yes.
And that's the Lice King there. What's his name?
This is right here. You have Dire Louse.
Dire
Can
Louse.
control his lice.
That's so gross.
And then up here you have her name is Black Hat.
Okay.
Very cybernetic kind of.
Cool.
She's based kind of on the cyber goth phase.
Yeah.
And then you have here is, I guess, the leader. I don't know if they have a name. I just call them the Rascals. So, I don't know. But these are the villains, and this is Rapscallion I'm working on now.
Good name.
Cool.
So yeah,
That's
this
cool.
is written by Roland Mann, the head honcho.
You're getting
Roland the Man.
Roland the Man. You're getting inside looks at the creation of a comic book here, folks. And we love doing this. We love sharing this with you, because while you watch our show and while you watch these streams and read our website write-ups and all that sort of stuff, we love that you get to know the Silverline team. And I keep repeating, if you have questions or comments, please post them. Send us emails, interact with us, because that's the beauty of an independent publisher like Silverline, is we do love getting those emails and messages, and we try our best to respond, because we're a small, close-knit family here, and we want you guys all to be part of the community. And as I always say, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for all of you. So thank you. We're going to continue the conversation. Sci-fi versus fantasy. We have talked a lot about sci-fi. We haven't doved into the fantasy world very deeply. We all kind of admitted coming up with fantasy comic books wasn't super easy. And I think ElfQuest was the first thing that came to mind. And we all kind of stared at each other, trying to think of other fantasy comic books. And I have read a lot of fantasy novels, so that's where my where the fantasy genre, where I've spent the most time. And Rory, I know, spends a lot of time with fantasy football. So
There you go.
You keep pushing that.
I don't know why. I keep
Not gonna happen.
I am
Fantasy sports ball.
Yep.
I'm on a fantasy football team because they needed a certain number of people, and they told me, please just open your email, click, auto assign. So the first couple weeks I'm playing, and I'm not paying attention, and someone said, Scott, you gotta check your team. I said, I thought it was like
Set it and forget it.
They said, no. Like, you got people on the injured reserve. Like, so I don't have like a quarterback right now. No, you don't. And you have to go in and you have to hit the optimize button. why wouldn't I always want the optimal? Why would I ever want less than optimal? So why have a button? Because that implies that my team is not optimal and I have to hit the button. So I have not been participating in the fantasy football. And
Good.
It's if you get to go make those gut plays where you got in theory you got Chubb who's a better running back, but maybe you got the Ravens going against the Bears, and that might be a better matchup. So you got the gut feeling that he's going to get a few more yards in.
I don't know how those statistics
I
work.
I don't know, and I can't pay attention.
Wow.
I have a hard time following fantasy fencing.
There you go.
I can't. When I lived in Atlanta, it was a different type of league where I had to assign all my players, and the time zone differences. I'd have to get up on Sunday morning and remember.
Nope.
Kill it dead right there. Nope.
Yeah, log in. I have to assign a quarterback, left back, right guard. I don't. I had to, and it was awful. It made me really hate it. And I will root for the Buffalo Bills and check the score sometime.
Cleveland Browns.
Buffalo.
I will not root for the Cleveland Browns. You be quiet. That's the extent of my sports balling. And
the Rust Belt.
Yeah.
When the Saints make it to the Super Bowl, so I've watched one football game.
Yes. 2000, Rory, when was Deepwater?
10.
So yeah. 2009. What? 2000. Oh gosh, when was Katrina? 2005.
5 or 6.
Yeah, and so why was I was in New Orleans, and it was the first time that they. Oh no, that was the year. What year did they go to the Super Bowl?
They went 2000. I think it was 9.
Okay,
I think it was 2009.
Yeah, there was a barge collision on the Mississippi River, and a bunch of oil was going down the river, and they needed Scott Wakefield to come clean it up. So I was in New Orleans for a month, and they were going through the city on floats, and they do the beads thing, and
what's that?
The beads thing? Yeah.
Apparently,
beads thing.
Apparently, they wanted me to lift my shirt. I don't know why. So I was putting all these.
They saw the uniform.
They're not picky down in New Orleans.
NBC and Madden, all these like beads that were like advertisement beads, so I'm putting all these on, and I'm sweating like a pig because it's disgusting and hot, and I sweat. And I'm wearing a white shirt similar to what Rory's wearing, like that. And I start taking the beads off, and I have sweat, and all of the paint has come off the beads, and I have this pink like bib down the front of me, like I'm a child that spilled Kool-Aid down the front of myself. So that was my.
Those beads might have been laced with something.
And then I woke up.
Yeah.
Whoever was wearing them before probably saturated with alcohol.
I felt they were in little packets. They were throwing them from the floats.
Candy? Were they candy?
And no, I don't know.
That would make more sense. That would make sense.
That would make more sense.
Yeah.
I wish they were. No, they all had NBC and like Madden, and they were like advertisement beads, which
that's new to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Welcome to the commercialization of Mardi Gras, our topic for today.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're really reaching.
In 2009, I realized I never want to come back to New Orleans, and then in 2010, I went back to New Orleans for 2 months. It's a lovely city. All of you that live in and around Louisiana and New Orleans, you are fine people.
Hey, I went there once, and I never left Bourbon Street. That's yeah.
and that's sad because
for a lifetime.
There's so much. I wish I could see more than just besides Bourbon Street, because Bourbon Street's where the tourists are.
Yeah.
There, you've got the Bywater, you've got all sorts of different areas, Franklin Street and things like that, where you actually get to the Congo Square, where it's the nitty gritty of what is New Orleans. And I don't know if y'all ever been there during the daytime. A lot of people don't go in the day.
Yeah.
If you can go to the French market and stuff like that, it has its culture. It has its problems, or it used to. It's been a while since I've been down casually anyway, but it has
such a vigorous culture that it itself has bled into every other genre.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Every city has its culture and every city has its problems. If someone says a city doesn't have problems, they live in an ivory tower.
Right.
Or a
and the thing about New Orleans is it's such a melting pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of its history and its it used to be the shipping port for America and everything like that. So
The history side is neat. It boggles my mind though. A city that's below sea level is an odd thing.
Hell, the Netherlands have been doing it for years.
Right.
Yeah. I got to I went on a ghost tour and saw we heard the whole story about when Nicholas Cage.
Oh,
there it is.
oh, the Sultan.
Yeah, the Laurie mansion there. That's that iconic 3-story mansion that he probably had to sell when he sold all his castles and islands. Poor Nicolas Cage. Has Nicolas Cage been in any good? Oh, Sorcerer's Apprentice.
You said good, right?
I say recently he was in Mandy, which is if anyone wants a movie about the weird drug cults that lived in Eastern Oregon for a while. That's a great. It's a slasher movie where the slasher is the good guy, and it's Nick Cage. It's Spirit Lake. Hunting down some guys on an LSD trip. It's great.
Yes, you better not
That
be on
sounds
LSD when you watch it either.
Yeah, it's and the art direction. It's done. It's like a Lynch movie. Just the direction that art.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then Color Out of Space last year, which I need to watch, but apparently
that's on my list.
But apparently, it's a really good spooker, very Lovecraftian, and
I like it.
Yeah,
I dig Lovecraft. That Lovecraft is sci-fi.
Yeah. John Martin says he used to play fantasy football, won a couple years in a row. And he also says, in terms of fantasy comics, heavy metal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was also going to say something that's kind of fun. Lumberjanes, which if you ever want a comic about a bunch of ladies in the woods hunting vampires and monsters, it's great.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Okay.
It's kind of like a more I hate to say adult because it's not adult really, a version of Gravity Falls kind of.
That's what Noel Stevenson describes it as, is Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Gravity Falls.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's funny.
There's a series coming soon, an animated series.
Yeah.
Of Lumberjanes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's good.
I wish Gravity Falls is amazing, and there's 2 seasons of it, right? They did. Oh my goodness! My kids have watched it probably 3 times through, because every time they have a friend over or one of them misses an episode, they all rewatch it. So Gravity Falls is hilarious. Rory, if you haven't seen it,
I just put it on my list.
Disney Plus, Gravity Falls.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes, please.
It's one of those things where even not as a parent, I've enjoyed it.
Oh yeah,
It's
it's
you
got
do not
that.
have to be a parent at all.
Hilarious, and that's got the fantastical creatures in it, so that's relevant to our conversation tonight. Okay, best. If I talk about novels, are we too far off track for the rest of you? What do you have a favorite fantasy novel?
I could be really basic and say the Drist series by R.A. Salvatore.
Stop, Tim.
Yeah. What? No, I'm with you. Yes or no?
Yes, Drist Duerden.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the Dark Elf trilogy.
That's one of those things where someone says Drist and everyone in the room just throws things at them.
No. The only thing with those stories, that's R.A. Salvatore, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's like
Is
bloody
after a while-
36 books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After a while, his description of the fighting action is like enough.
Yeah, I get that.
I get that the blade glanced off the hilt and he parried to the left, turning his foot a pivot to the right, and he ducked, and the fight scenes, yes, are incredible.
Yeah,
but after a while,
I
it's like,
think so. I think also it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, you never want to read a a shooter book by someone who's a gun nut
but yeah,
because they'll go
Yeah,
into
right.
I believe R. Salvatore, he wasn't a fencer, but he was a fencing enthusiast.
yeah.
So
yeah,
he knew how to describe like an actual like sword fight, and so it's the same reason why, reading something like The Accountant, where it's like, okay, let's describe this 50 caliber anti-material rifle
right
to the nuts and bolts.
right. I always wonder why
And
did
if you remove the last pin,
right.
Their upper
The-
receiver is composed of.
Drizzt swords, what are they? Icing Death and Twinkle or something like that. What are they called? Sparkle. They're really weird. Like
Yeah.
just strange names, and I never got why Glamdring was called the faux hammer as a sword. But
Icing Death and Twinkle.
metaphorical.
yes, Icing Death and I pulled those out of my
Yep.
butt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think also, yeah, like we said, metaphorical. A lot of things back in the day described as hammers for not, even though they weren't hammers.
Okay.
Is there for the faux hammer though? Considering it's Tolkien, is there and I'm not that I don't know all that much about Tolkien, but does it play in a story earlier, like a
Is it in
Silmarillion or something like
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, it's there. Yes, a hammer, something to crush a foe. I get it
Mhm.
metaphorically. It was just
Yeah.
it was kind of odd. He also picked Sauron and Saruman.
Mhm.
So I don't know why. Like if I were an editor, I'd be like, "Hey, can,
You're leading,
one
they're
of
leading the point here.
right? when they make this into a movie,
Let's
we've
not hope it's a musical.
right. We've discussed that, right? In the animated one, how they change it briefly, and
Yes,
No.
Saruman.
calls him Aaron
Saruman. Look, if you watch that video, they'll tell you why.
because they didn't think it would come through, right?
It has something to do with the voice actor. I
Yeah.
think, if I remember correctly, like there's two voice actors, and the first voice actor couldn't say it,
Huh.
Oh, okay.
and he kept saying Aruman, Aruman, Aruman. But fine, just use Aruman.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, go watch it. He does. Nostalgia Critic does a really extensive
Okay.
review of it.
I'm
I
gonna-
can't remember what it.
I have to watch it. Okay. So
That's I was gonna say fantasy Game of Thrones. Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, very Danish, but they had to do the entire series with an English accent. So they're like, apparently had to have it's like an English voice coach with them most of the time. It's like, okay, here's how you like bring this you.
oh yeah. That's a funny thing too. Is there any fantasy movie or show where they don't have British accents?
Is there any series about Rome that's not all done by old British actors?
Right,
Hail
or-
Caesar!
Very true.
I like How to Train Your Dragon. How
Oh,
all
yeah.
the old people are Scottish.
Scottish.
The kids are American.
Yeah, no, it's very clearly a kid from the Bronx.
um,
New Scottish.
Rory, you got a
Yes.
favorite fantasy novel or written word series?
Well, I'm only on the first book of Terry Goodkind's Wizard's First Rule,
Okay.
which was recommended to me by Steve Miller, mine, not yours. Who he's very shy about posting things on the interwebs, but he has texted me saying Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time.
Oh my
series.
goodness.
Oh yeah,
That's-
that's a religion.
yes.
But
He's
yeah,
very adamant that I need to read that.
that's also really in terms of comics working in a team when they got picked up by Brandon Sanderson because when Robert Jordan passed away, the editors were looking at his other editors, his writing partners at the time, but then they found Brandon Sanderson, who was this kid who had somehow written fan fiction that had emulated Jordan's tone so perfectly. They're like, all right, we're going to hire this kid for
Wow.
yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
That's who finished the last book.
So the series that I have loved, and I think I've missed a few in his world. Raymond, is it? I don't know if it's Feist or Feast, Feist. Not Faust. He wrote I think there's different Krondor series, and his world is Krondor.
That's a fantasy name.
Yeah,
Krondor.
Krondor. And his first quartet of books, and then they combined the first two. It was Magician's Nephew, or I'm sorry, Magician.
Wait a minute.
What do you know?
Hey, stop.
I know that book.
No, it's Magician, isn't it? So yeah, it's Apprentice and Master. Anyways, and then Silverthorn and the gosh, I'm blanking on it. But his first quartet of books, I really loved, and I haven't reread them in 20 years, so I don't know if they are as good as I remember them. But he's written his whole Krondor world. I've enjoyed, and those books I read when I was pretty young, so they've kind of been seared into my psyche, along with, like I said, a lot of the Dragonlance, TSR.
Oh yeah, those are
the Dragons of series by Tracy Hickman, who I did not know was a man, and somebody else. Who does he write with? With the cast of characters, the half elf and the wizard brother and the fighter brother, and anyways, those books. So I read a lot of fantasy novels.
It's Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss.
Margaret Weiss, thank you.
Yeah, I just found another one of those trilogies that I have not read yet, and managed to find all three at our local used bookshop.
Oh, yeah, I found found them on Amazon or eBay. The I don't know if it's the first printing about the covers that I had, and it was like $6 for the trilogy, and I bought them for my son. I was all excited that he's gonna read the same books as me. He didn't quite get into them, but he reads. But yeah, fantasy novels. That's
the Witcher series is good too.
Yeah,
through that.
Have y'all,
Witcher?
What am my favorite? If I'm not butting in, am I?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. But we're talking about dress and everything. But I haven't finished the second half of that group. But it was a series book called "This War of the Spider Queen."
I have not.
Oh, yes.
And it's edited by R.A. Salvatore, but it's written by several different writers. And it deals with Menzo Baranzin, and Lolth is now, which is the Spider Queen god of the Dark Elf, the Drow. And she's not answering anybody anymore. And the magic has now ceased with the females, and they're trying to keep all the slaves, from uprising.
Right.
That doesn't happen. So, and then they try to kind of venture out later on to find out where Lolth is, why she's not answering anybody. So you're dealing with like Menzo Baranzin, all the Underdark stuff in there, and it's really good if you get a chance to read those, because you're not really, you don't have like a Drist. Oh, he's a good Drow, in this horrible world of other bad Drows. No, they're all bad. So, it's really interesting to have this group of anti-heroes and trying to pick somebody out, and it's written so well because you're dealing with different points of view sometimes, and it's written so well that you identify with these characters, but you don't have to like them per se.
Yeah.
If you get a chance.
That's why I really like the Altered Carbon series. Is Takashi Kovacs is. Yes. He was UN Special Forces, but he was a terrorist, was put into brain jail for 200 years on terrorism charges, and then someone is just rich enough essentially to hire him up as personal security, and he's still just a terrible person.
Yes.
But he's you want him to succeed in some way because he's just so you understand enough of his motivation,
which is love.
What's my place in this world?
So I looked it up. It is his first series. Raymond Feist was the Rift Force Saga.
Mm.
It was originally published. You could as Magician Apprentice and Magician Master, and then Silverthorn and then a Darkness at Sethenon. So those came out in the 80s.
Nice.
So those are ancient, 1982. Whew. So I enjoyed those. Yeah, I couldn't get into reading. I don't know about sci-fi books. They didn't grab me. I read William Shatner wrote one.
Did he sing it?
Yeah,
Tech Wars.
yeah. It was he wrote a Star Trek. It was a Borg, and
Oh, okay.
Kirk was in it somehow. And in his book, he wrote that V'ger was Borg. V'ger from the motion picture Star Trek 1. So I don't know if that
There was a one.
book became canon.
Right.
And it wasn't bad. I can't think of any other.
Yeah.
Like Sphere.
I think the thing with a lot of sci-fi books is about the time when, like, the 80s is when a lot of fantasy books really blew up. That gave rise to the painted vans with the wizards on the side.
Yeah.
But
There's still some of those rolling around down here.
yeah, I'm may not be looking to do so in the future. Maybe find one I can fit an electric motor in. But before then, and shortly and around the same time, sci-fi got into the really dense stuff. So that's where at the time a lot of people were recommending people read Arthur C. Clarke and Rendezvous at Rama, or Philip K. Dick was getting published, but it hadn't quite blown up yet. But a lot of it was just the hard science. Even Gene Roddenberry, for as much as he birthed, his stuff was still very dense. And I think it wasn't until about the 90s going into early 2000s when we got a lot of Pratchett, Roddenberry, and when Philip K. Dick's career stuff really got pushed forward, that people got more into the digestible science fiction that was, you could read it like a serial, like you did with the Drist books and all that.
Okay.
Here's a question idea. Even the ancient Scandinavians had epics.
Yeah.
Like Beowulf, right? That seems very fantastical to us. You know, maybe not so to them. The ancient Egyptians, the Romans, Greeks, they all had those fantastical stories that any of them project into the future sci-fi style. Like, oh, this is what it's going to be. We're going to have rock homes 10 stories tall.
Honestly, I believe some South American cultures did have science fiction, in some way.
Aliens.
Yeah, well, the idea is that they had their calendar that went until 2012. The Mayans did, but I believe they actually had stories that were like projected to have happened on different points on the calendar up. So they talked about like the sixth and seventh sun and all this weird stuff. We got Shadowrun out of actually. So yes, the Mayans gave us Shadowrun.
They just didn't know it.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I don't want to wrap us up, but I feel like we're losing a little steam here.
Steampunk.
Steampunk.
Oh, now you're talking about steampunk. Now, some of my favorite.
Is that sci-fi? That is sci-fi.
That is sci-fi.
Yes.
Yeah.
The series is by Scott Wakefield. No, it's what's his name? Scott.
I heard it sucks.
Scott. There's another Scott.
No, Wyland.
Wayland Yutani.
Nope.
I can't remember. He's a
Wayland
young
Jennings.
adult writer.
Wyland sounds right. W-Y-L-A-N.
Yeah, I think that's it.
There's another Scott that does steampunk stuff.
Yeah, well, I don't think
We need to take care of him.
he did this. He did this trilogy, and it was called Leviathan.
Yes.
That does sound familiar. Yeah.
And it was set during World War One, and it's a Franz Ferdinand had a son after he was assassinated, and they basically are trying to hide his son. Yeah, after. Well, no, he didn't have. I mean, he had the son before. I thought that went without saying. Well, sorry, proper English in here. I'm just okay. Look, I still having problems with the bingo thing, but look. So they were trying to hide him, but World War One you had one side, yeah, as far as British and everything, where they were Darwinists, but they were using Darwinism. They were using science to manipulate the animals to do certain things, like a frog that could record, or and that the airships were actually made out of these
airships. Everyone loves airships.
Yeah, well, these were animals. They were kind of like whales, but they weren't whales.
Heck yeah!
They were like Darwinistic
sky whales,
mutated whales, or whatever the case is. And then, but
they're probably terrified the whole time.
The Germans were mechs. You know, they were. So we had the Darwinists and the. It was believe it or not, it sounds stupid, but it was a really awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
It was a really awesome series. If you ever get a chance to read it, Leviathan was the first book, Behemoth, and then Goliath.
Scott and I have a Prussian friend.
Scott Westerfield.
Westerfield. Now we really need to take him on.
Yeah.
This is
close.
We'll employ the services of Baron von Gershke, a friend of ours from way back in the day.
Somebody will take care of him. Tim was already threatening somebody tonight. Well, we didn't have the knockdown drag out that I expected, which I guess is okay. We did not come to a consensus, which is better. Sci-fi or fantasy.
Sci-fantasy is the best because you have armor 40,000 and you have spaceships powered by little demon choo-choo, and you can't top that.
Okay. So sci-fantasy wins, and all the points go there. And Tim's sci-fantasy spaceball team involved deep-powered mechs or spaceships, and he will obliterate all of us. Rory, when you and I tried to employ coal to power our steam-powered machine,
gonna get dirty.
We can't compete with demons.
No.
And then we have Star Wars with space magic and magic crystals for laser beams.
No sky whales.
And sky whales.
That's so great.
Sky whales.
Do they breathe lightning too?
Tonight we've distilled it down to.
I'm sorry, I talked to y'all.
Sky whales, space magic.
Oh, I love it. See, Michael, I love
demon
it.
Power.
This is fantastic. Just made my week.
You know what? Just read the book and you'll know what I mean.
Singing Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy wins.
If Leonard Nimoy can narrate sky whales breathing lightning,
my goodness,
man, I'm
only.
all in.
If only. Oh, it's gold. Oh man.
Science fiction and fantasy and the ultimate reunion.
Yes.
Mashing it all together. Get in there.
We'll find a better crossover. I dare.
We'll make a story out of you somehow. So yes, the clear winner is sci-fantasy. Sci-fi versus fantasy equals sci-fantasy, and we can all agree that's what every story should be about. No more fantasy or sci-fi. Make it sci-fantasy, or don't make anything at all.
Something for everyone.
Yeah.
And everyone's homework is to watch Nostalgia Critic before next week, and watch Singing Leonard Nimoy and the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins.
I will tell you something about that when we get off camera.
And watch us on Saturday.
Mean.
after dark.
We the real homework for all of our listeners and viewers out there. Write down November 7th, 14th, and 21st, 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. We will be participating in Comic Conway. Go there right now. Wait, no. in a few minutes, go there and like and follow their page. You'll get all the updates from them. We will be hosting some panels with Silverline creators. I will be moderating. I think Tim's going to moderate.
I'll be guesting, talking about Wolf Hunter on the 21st.
Okay. And we will be talking all things comic book and all things Silverline and our titles. And you are welcome to ask us questions and join in the conversation. We encourage it. So mark those dates down, and we will be blasting that out as well on our social media platforms. So mark your calendars and join the fun. And we have had a great time tonight.
And we should also say, if it goes according to how planned, we will be on break during Wednesday nights on those weeks.
Right.
Thank you. Yep. Because yes, some of us can only spend so many hours chatting with our adoring fans as much as we love to spend every waking moment. Yeah, we
have to find some time to actually write comics.
Write comics and sometimes sleep. We're gonna take the Wednesdays off, and yeah, you'll see us on Saturdays. So if you're confused, if your friends are confused, where are they? Where's Wednesday WHAM? Tell them join us on Saturdays for Comic Conway. And before we head out, we're gonna say goodnight and say where you can find us and all those sorts of good things. Okay, see Michael Lanning.
Yeah, find me on Facebook at C. Michael Lanning. Usually on the Comics Newswires on Friday at 11:11 Eastern Time. We're off this Friday. I don't think we're doing one. We might, but other than that, and of course, you can find me on Twitter as long as Twitter's still around. At C. Michael Lanning. Drop the G, add the 2. So.
All right, Rory.
Good night. Farewell. You can find me wherever you can find Scott at Steam Patriots on Facebook and the Gram.
We are, and I will keep going. Yes, we are at Steam Patriots on Facebook and Instagram. We tried to post about our story coming up. That will come soon from Silverline. And if you want to connect with Silverline to publicize your projects and help us publicize our projects, we will all rise together as independent creators. So feel free to get in touch with me via the Silverline contacts info. And do not forget, go check out SilverlineComics.com to see all of our titles. Order them there. Get them in your hands. Share them with your friends. Tell everybody. Before I close this out, Tim TK, go ahead, say goodnight.
Hi, I'm Tim TK, the associate editor here at Silverline, the producer of Wednesday Night Show, and writer/creator of Wolf Hunter. You can find me on all the socials at Tim TK Writer. I'm on TikTok at Tim Doesn't TikTok, where I talk about punk rock and literature. And I am on Twitch at AggroBacon, AGGRO Bacon, one word, where I play a lot of Destiny 2, and I'll be live there later tonight, clicking on heads and busting kneecaps.
Roll out of bubblegum.
We have been talking about sci-fi versus fantasy. Thank you all for joining us. As always, you know the drill. Like, follow, subscribe to our feeds and our pages, and buy our comic books, buy all our play sets and toys, buy our comic books, share them with your friends. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. And I believe that's it. So as always, make mine Silverline.
Oh.
And good night, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great evening.